Now we're talking back to work tonight. Hope you guys had a fantastic day. Hope you made some money out there, but it's time to get back to work tonight. Tuesday evening. Tuesday is behind us. We're getting ready for a very busy Wednesday trading session. What could be one of the best days of the week coming on Wednesday. We got some great trades on my radar for tomorrow. We got some ranges. We got some beautiful rotation setups. A lot of momentum plays for tomorrow. So not to worry. We're going to cover all my favorite trades in the video tonight to make sure the game plan to make some money tomorrow morning. Before we jump in and get this party going tonight, make sure you subscribe to our channel. That way you don't miss tomorrow night's video. And as always, if you enjoyed the video tonight, do me a favor as always. Hit that like button. Give me a shout out in the comment section below. Appreciate you guys sticking around tonight and tuning in and supporting this YouTube video. But enough of the intro, right? Wednesday is going to be a really good day tomorrow in our morning trade room. So where are the best trades setting up for what could be a very good day tomorrow after that sluggish reaction to the Fed speaker here this morning? Boy, everything pretty heavy right now, right? S&P bearish, Nasdaq bearish, oil definitely still pretty bullish. Over on the Nasdaq and the S&P though, I've got some great short opportunities off the high right now. I'd love to short into some of these bounces, but you'll notice though there's some ranges on the chart. And as you guys know, ranges are really big variables because right now we have a great example of what's called rotation off the low. And these rotations off the low, boy, they can really lead to some very strong pops going higher here for the buyers. I would like to short these pops. However, though, momentum is going to be a big part of the game plan for tomorrow. And tonight we'll talk about how momentum plays into it, and most importantly, how to use the moving average to time some of the perfect entries, right? Because it's always difficult to pick those tops. So we'll talk a lot about how to use the moving average, how to use momentum, really time those entries off the high. We have a master class coming tonight on the S&P and the Nasdaq. Over on oil is still kind of stubbornly bullish right now. We haven't got that deep pullback. We are still expecting the buyers to be waiting for that deep pullback here for tomorrow. But boy, there's a couple clues on the chart here tonight that tells me we might get some really nice reversals off of that high as well. So I definitely have some reversals, maybe some crown reversals on oil for the short side tomorrow, and then potentially pick it back up off some key support levels waiting below. So boy, lots of really great trades we are tracking here for Wednesday. Now, speaking of Wednesday, before we go into each one of these charts here and get our hands dirty here tonight, don't forget tomorrow we do start turning the corner into the end of the month. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Remember, Friday is the end of the month and the end of the quarter. So it may not be that much tomorrow, but as we get deeper into this week, we do expect volatility to increase here. So be aware of that. Tomorrow, the big time of day tomorrow is definitely at 10 a.m. Eastern time. Michael Barr gets back in front of the microphone for day number 2 of his 2-day testimony. Now, he probably will not be the big center tomorrow, a lot like when Powell testifies back-to-back days. The first day is kind of the day that everybody obsesses about, everyone's anxious about. That now is behind us. He'll probably say most of the same stuff that he said here today. So I don't think Michael Barr will be surprising anybody tomorrow. I doubt the markets are obsessed as much with him as they were here today. But 10 o'clock Eastern time, we talk about this all the time. 10 o'clock Eastern time is oftentimes one of the biggest catalysts. And when you combine that with that pending home sales number tomorrow, I definitely will be keeping an eye on that 10 o'clock hour, 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock tomorrow in our trade room. We also have the inventory report, that weekly oil report. Of course, it'll only apply to oil traders tomorrow. My goal on Wednesdays with that news at 10:30 is get into trades early by about 10:15, 10:20. We're sitting on hands and we'll pick it back up after about 10:45, 11 o'clock and trade the reaction on oil. So keep that on your radar. Again, uptick in volatility next couple days. And again, 10 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow, right? Be aware of that potential 10 o'clock shock, as we always call it, in our trade room. Now back to our charts though, because of course the money is made on the charts. The news is a good catalyst, but guys, if you like making money, I would definitely make sure you watch all the way to the end of the video here tonight, because I'm going to cover all my favorite trades on each of these markets. Every trade I talk about can be applied to your favorite market, so don't just click off after your favorite chart is done. I will work it all together. I'll bring it all together. S&P first, Nasdaq second, and we'll wrap things up on the mighty oil to finish up the video here tonight. First things first, don't forget, these are all tick charts. That's an 8,000 tick chart in the upper left-hand corner. This is the 21 EMA, so be aware of that for the moving average. And as always, I do like to give you guys some higher time frame charts. I've got 4-hour time frames, 60-minute time frames, linked up in the description of the YouTube video. I like to use higher time frame charts to give me some directional filters, to find major turning points on the chart. So grab those links. They'll be a great companion along with the video here tonight. What's the most important factor right now on the S&P? Really the S&P and the Nasdaq. As you can see, momentum is very bearish here going into that trading range that we saw today. We have what's called rotation off the low. Ranges act like magnets. However, when markets go below the range and then rotate off the low of, or basically rotate up off the low of that range, oftentimes these rotations can be quite strong. In fact, oftentimes the amount we go below the range can be combined above the range and will give us a couple key areas of resistance. So the most important factor right now is we're looking pretty bearish on the S&P. There's still a little bit of hope for the buyers, but this is very difficult right now to call this a bull market, and even more difficult to find long trades on both the E-mini and the S&P right now. So we have to assume that sellers would love to short some of these bounces, right? Short some of these pops. But as I mentioned in the introduction, momentum becomes kind of a key issue here as we rotate up off of this low. So kind of my favorite trades here on the S&P and the Nasdaq for tomorrow is I'd like to go up because that momentum can be very strong on these rotations. I'm not going to try to pick the top of this move. I would rather go in and see if I can trap in some of these buyers, let the buyers get roped in and use their stops ultimately, right? Use their exits as fuel to turn this thing over. That's one of my favorite trades here for tomorrow. Now, as you can imagine, there are some variations of that, what I call a buyer failure pattern, right? The same pattern you guys are learning in our free trading course. There are 3, maybe 4 different variations I want to talk about tonight to short that pop. That way, no matter what happens, overnight or tomorrow morning, you'll have a game plan to make some money. I also think too, we're sitting at resistance. There's a lot of resistance up overhead, and with the market kind of rolling over and feeling heavy right now, we may not get that big pop and that short that I want for tomorrow. I also want to give you guys a roadmap on how to make money if we roll over and start going lower, right? We don't want to chase it going lower. So I got a couple good trades I'm tracking if we roll over here for tomorrow as well. So we're going to cover all those details on this video here tonight. The most important thing right now is momentum coming off the low. And like I said, I'd like to go up. I'd like to try to get some of these buyers coming in. And again, because that momentum can be so strong, trap those buyers in and use their stops as fuel, right? Imagine now the buyers coming in, trying a couple times and selling into those stop losses. Now, oftentimes what happens is as the market rolls over, we begin to start looking for new channels. I can draw off the low, mark up off the high, and I can look for kind of add-on entries, what I call first test entries off the high of that channel. Now, this could be any of the entry patterns you guys are learning in my free trading course. It could be a bull trap like I'm showing right here. It could be a buyer failure like this one. It could be a pullback combo, a strength move as we go lower. But the general idea is get it up, trap those buyers in, and then look for shorts as we go back down to retest the low. And again, I'll show you a couple more trades tonight if we end up blasting right on through that low. Now, let's talk about some variations of this. Oftentimes what happens is when you get these big pullbacks like this, that momentum is so strong that sometimes what'll happen is it'll pull back, they'll retest the high, and get a double top. Double tops are very common when you get those really deep pullbacks. And again, it can be difficult to time that entry properly because of all of that momentum. So strong pop up, let's say, the buyers come in, they successfully hold that pullback, right? They retest these highs. Now remember, think about this now. Professional buyers, more experienced buyers are going to buy low. As we retest the high now we assume these are rookie buyers, right? Small stops, not much risk tolerance. They can't protect themselves. Once they try a couple times now we can use another example. I call these 2-try failures. And by the way, if you're taking my free trading course right now, we have different variations of the failure pattern, right? The reason why we need a 2-try failure is because of the momentum, right? As we come off that high, I would love to get the buyers trying twice, rope them in with all the momentum, and then use their stops as fuel, get that nice juicy signal candle we talk about in the free trading course, and then look for that drop coming down off of that high. And again, remember, where does the market want to go at that point? It's going to want to go back into that trading range. It'll want to take out these lows down here. So don't just kick your feet up on the desk and watch as it drops, right? Go out and look for that new low to low, find that new bear channel, and of course, as I always say, don't miss that first test. And again, could be a bull trap, could be a buyer failure, a pullback combo, any of the entry patterns you guys are learning in the free course. Which reminds me, I know we've talked a lot about the free classes so far. I know some of you guys have not taken that free course yet. I know that many of you guys have, because I get those emails every day with your P&Ls and all your winning trades and those setups. But listen, if you're here for the first time right now, if you haven't taken the free classes yet and learned all the entry tactics like failures, traps, pullback combos, I'll put a link up here for you in the upper right hand corner. Grab that link and take my free trading course, because the strategy you'll learn in that free video series will teach you a simple trick to know exactly where the best winning trades are going to be that day. And I'll teach you 4 of my favorite entry patterns to help kickstart you making money on your own account. If you're missing the best trades right now, if you're taking too many losses, definitely take that class, grab that link. It is perfect for someone trying to make the jump into full-time trading, and you'll learn all kinds of my ways to use failures, traps, time the perfect entries, even with momentum being so bullish here. Now, one more thing I want to talk about the highs here. It's a V-top. V-tops are very common whenever we get these kind of bearish markets popping up here. How do we trade a V-top, right? I'd love to get a 1, 2 back down again, but what if we don't, right? What if it just gets crushed and runs back down? I don't want to chase after it, right? I don't want to chase after it. The goal is, of course, is if it does end up grinding down like this, watch it grind, find that low, find that channel high, and again, go out and start looking left, right? Once we find those swings, wait for that first test off the high of that channel. And again, I always like to grab that first touch off the high of that channel. Bull trap, this one could be a buyer failure, pullback combo. I like that short off the high as well. So if we don't get that beautiful 2-try failure, you stops as fuel. The key is, right, just don't chase it as it goes lower. Wait for that V-top to start grinding down, and then make sure we sell as high as we can, right, to short off the top of that channel. That should cover it. And keep in mind, right, it could be here, it could be here, it could be here. It's very difficult if we go higher to find a good buy setup, because it's a lot of overhead resistance overhead. So we'll stick to the short side until something changes here tomorrow. Now, one more very important question is, what if we roll over, right? What if we don't get that deep pullback? You know, what if the markets continue to grind down here today? How do we short this thing if we do roll over? And what about some breakouts going lower here? Let's talk about that now over on the Nasdaq. The Nasdaq, of course, is very similar here to the S&P 500. It's overall, well, the Nasdaq, believe it or not, is actually still pretty overall bullish on the 60-minute time frame. You'll see that linked up in the description of the video here tonight. You'll see we're definitely a little more bullish than bearish in the long term, but it's very difficult right now to look at that Nasdaq and say this is a buyer's market right now. Again, it's very bearish into a trading range. We have that rotation off the low. And again, I'd love to short some of these pops up here, but with that momentum coming off of the low here tonight, it creates this. It could easily keep on running higher here, and trying to pick that top can be very difficult. So again, rather than trying to pick those tops, I'd rather wait for it to pull back, see if buyers can hold on to it, and then look for their stops as fuel to then turn this thing over back down again. Same idea we talked about on the S&P. And again, the Nasdaq could go even higher here. It definitely could. You got that key 60-minute resistance at the 822.25 level overhead. So we definitely have quite a bit of overhead resistance. We know the bears will be trying to sink their teeth into here for tomorrow. Now, the next big question is if we go lower, right? If we go lower here, and we talked about this last night, right? What are those two questions we always ask? It was momentum and it was location, right? Momentum and location. So if we go lower right now, we're not doing a very good job at selling high, right? I do like the idea of a short. You'll notice this channel coming off the lows here. As always, I draw my channels backwards. I draw bear channels off the lows. Get a beautiful spot there, right, for that bear channel right now. Very similar on the S&P as well. My only concern, though, is we haven't completed what we call the pendulum swing, right? We haven't really made it up around some initial key levels of resistance. So if I want to short this thing right now, I have to use what's called a trap setup, right? A trap pattern, like you guys are learning in the free trading course. What you want to do is if we start rolling lower here, think about buyers trying and look for traps. So as we're going lower, my favorite trade going lower here will definitely be what we call bull traps. Now, keep in mind, right? I'm going to keep it simple here with this example. You want to just try to sell as high as you can if it rolls over, right? I don't want to sell very low. I want to sell as high as I can. Sometimes what happens is it'll pop down, grind down, grind down. So again, you want to be looking for those traps, right, above the highs. That will allow you to avoid the very dangerous action of selling too low, and again looking for that short back down to retest the low. So if we do end up grinding down, as always, right, try not to chase it going lower. Ideally, I would love to find a channel off that low up around that high and combine one of these little hidden bear channels along with a bull trap right around the high of that channel. So that is my favorite trades as we roll over. If we roll over, again, if we don't go higher and get that short tomorrow, bull traps off the high. And channels are not required on that, but I definitely want to see a bull trap on the entry. The next thing is I want to talk about breakouts going lower, because we never really saw, I mean, the Nasdaq looks pretty bearish right now, but, you know, again, we never really saw the market really accelerate going lower. And with everything being so bullish only 24 hours ago, you would think the potential for an acceleration going lower is pretty good if the bulls begin to realize they're caught on the wrong side of the market. What you want to think about here is, again, we're looking for bull traps on the way lower, but now kind of imagine, right, we end up back around these lows. If we end up pulling back to that moving average and really jumping off that moving average, we call these 1, 2, 3 reversals, 1, 2, 3 breakouts. Now remember, we never really saw that acceleration today, right? So if we do end up, and again, right, we're looking for those bull traps for the shorts on the way down, but the minute this thing pulls back to that 21 moving average and just jumps off the moving average, that will be the sign of a strong breakdown, a strong breakout. In that case, again, we don't want to chase it. We're going to find that low. We're going to mark off the high. What I usually do is try to go up one more layer and find a little bit of a bigger channel like that, right? I call these hidden channels in my trade room. And then again, I can find traps above the prior swings. I can get above the moving average for a buyer failure pattern, as you guys are learning, failure into pullback combinations. And where do we think the market wants to go at that point? We get some other key levels down, and you'll see these in the 60-minute time frame. Link in the description. I got 12,525, 12,569. We get some key levels linked up on the S&P as well. So keep those on your radar for tomorrow. Another variable of this, another variation of this, is a pop and grind, right? So we may not get that strong run down, that pullback, and a jump off the moving average, right? They may not happen. Oftentimes what will happen is as it rotates off the high, it may pop down and begin to grind down. If it grinds down like this, it's even easier. Mark a trend line off that low, bring it up around that high. And again, your job now is look left, find those prior swings. Swings are where traps live. The moving average is where buyer failures live. Buyers come in, try to buy it, sell into stops. We only need a one-try failure, right? We talked about the two-try failures earlier. At this point, momentum is very bearish. We don't need to be as conservative or patient on the entry. Failures turn into pullbacks, as you guys learn with the price action cycle in the free trading course, right? So keep that one on your radar as well. So again, in a nutshell, as we go lower, we're looking for bull traps, right? To avoid selling too low. If this thing begins to accelerate, pop and grind down, find that channel, pop, pull back, and jump off the moving average, find that channel, and that will give you those breakouts, right, that we need here, or reversals here to short off the high there. I like that game plan a lot. Now it's just a matter of time to see if we get the pop up overnight, or if we end up grinding down off the high of this channel. Either way, though, we're now ready to go with a good game plan. How about some crude oil? Oil is definitely kind of a fun one here for tomorrow, wrapping up tonight on the oil chart here for tonight. We are overall very bullish right now, not only in the long term, the 60-minute time frame, but also, as you can see here, in the short-term time frame as well. As we talked about last night, it's a really big move higher. And so anytime we see a big move in one direction, we anticipate buyers are not going to want to buy high, and they'll want to buy low, which means we anticipate a deep pullback to attract in more buyers. Buyers want to buy low, and we get a pretty good idea of where that key support area is going to be. That is definitely on our radar for tomorrow, but there's one big change from last night's video into tonight's video, and that, of course, is this new trading range. Now, we talked a lot about rotation here tonight on the video lesson, right? If we rotate higher and then rotate down off of that low, what happens? Momentum starts to build. And so with the range below us, we know ranges act like magnets. We know ranges love to rotate back and forth, right? There definitely is going to be some chances here to short this thing as if this thing does end up dropping here off of this high right now. So my kind of favorite trades on this are definitely going to be bull traps off the high. Just like we talked about on the NASDAQ, trying to sell off the high right now is definitely going to be necessary for bull traps, because again, we're pretty bullish overall right now. I want to sell as high as I possibly can, because we have to anticipate as the market goes lower, buyers will come in and try to pick it up. So trying to sell off the high right now, the key are going to be those bull traps, right? Or crown reversals, as I call them. Crown reversals are pretty simple, right? We go up, buyers try once, buyers try twice. It's basically a two-try failure with a trap, right? So as we go lower, right, if we go lower, I would love to sell, right, some bull traps or crown reversals as we're going lower here. If we were to, for example, begin to grind down, right, if we can grind down like this, right, you know how to trade this now, those channels, right, find those bull traps off the high, and we're targeting back down into this 71.84, 71.67 area, and then we can look for the pop going back higher, right? So bull traps, right? Trap setups off the high of channels, trap setups above prior swings. That's going to be how we short this thing off the high right now to avoid selling too low in an overall bull market. Now, the next question is if we do end up all the way down at those lows right now. How do we buy down there? Well, we just talked about this, right? Momentum becomes very strong now as it rotates off that high. I would like to buy here, but what's the problem? Momentum, right? It's too strong. It's going to be difficult to pick the bottom on this. For all I know, this thing could turn over, hold that pullback, and jam going lower. Right? And we'll talk about that in a moment. But what I want to do is again, because it's tough with that momentum, that deep pullback, it's difficult to pick the bottom on this. Let the bears tell you what they're doing, right? Let them try a couple times and use their stops as fuel for that run back higher. Now remember, if the bears, if they hold that pullback, because again, this could easily turn with that deep reversal off the high, with that rotation off the high, the bears could easily come in and short this thing and really jump going lower. And what's that called? It's called a reversal, right? They hold the pullback off the moving average. Remember, we're not going to sell that first pullback, right? Because again, we're too bullish overall, right? Overall, we're very bullish, right? So we're not going to sell that first pullback. You can if you want to, but it's not a very long-term reliable trade, right? It's about a 35, maybe 40% winner. It's not a very reliable trade. I'd rather wait and see the bears can hold that. If they can hold it, then I can go out, find a new channel off the low, mark, again, I'll have to go with these big highs like this, right? Find those prior swings, and then this is a much more reliable entry coming in off that high. And again, keeping it simple here tonight, could be a bull trap, could be a buyer failure, could be a pullback combination. You're going to learn stuff like that. You'll learn those entry setups in the free trading course as part of our price action cycle, right? So keep an eye on the potential reversal. We'll see if the reversal can happen here for tomorrow. So in a nutshell, even if we go higher, right? If we go higher, looking for those bull traps, right? Off the high. Looking for those deep pullbacks, trapping in those bears. Remember, deep pullbacks are great. We get good reward, but the problem with those deep pullbacks is momentum. It can be very difficult to pick that bottom. So trap those bears in around the lows of these channels and simply use their stops as fuel for that run going higher here. All right, guys, keeping it simple. Again, bull traps off the high, crown reversals, if you're a student of mine, right off the high there, right? Or again, if it ends up kind of V-topping like this, right? V-topping like this, you know what to do, right? Mark that new channel, find those traps, and again, bull traps, buyer failures, right? On that deep pullback, then pick it up off of that low, trap those bears in, and get the squeeze going back higher again. That's the game plan on the crude oil. And I'll tell you, talking about this stuff right now gets me pretty excited for tomorrow. We got Michael Barr tomorrow, but again, most of the stuff is probably behind us now from today's testimony. Tomorrow could be a very busy day tomorrow in our trade room. Speaking of which, tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock Eastern time, the game plan is ready now. I would love to have you there learning and trading along with me tomorrow morning. We open up at 8 o'clock Eastern time. If you want any more information, all the free course links, all the membership information, all the additional time frames are all linked up in the description of the YouTube video. If you have any questions, if you need help with anything along the way tonight, please don't be afraid to call the office. I'm always here to help out if you got questions, and you can always use live chat on the lower right-hand corner of the website as well. Right, guys? Hope you learned a bunch here tonight. Hope you use it to make a killing tomorrow. Hopefully, I'll see you tomorrow morning in the morning trade room, 8 o'clock Eastern time. If not, we'll come back tomorrow night. We'll get ready for a Thursday trading session. Guys, thank you so much for being here. My name is Joseph. Be well, be nice to each other, and you better be here next time. Adios, amigos. Bye-bye for now.